What's up, narrative analysts? Jax Riley here, and we need to talk about what just surfaced in the Caitlin Clark saga. Because while everyone's been focused on her injuries and Indiana's medical disasters, I've been digging deeper into something that should terrify every Fever fan watching this. The New York Liberty didn't just stumble into position as Clark's potential savior, they orchestrated it, and the evidence is hiding in plain sight. Now, let me be crystal clear about what we're dealing with here. Some of what I'm about to share comes from confirmed reports and documented interactions, but the deeper implications? Well, that's where we venture into connecting the dots that the mainstream media either missed or chose to ignore. Let's start with what we know happened on July 22nd. After Indiana's crushing loss to New York at Barclays Center, Caitlin Clark was photographed in what appeared to be an extended conversation with Liberty head coach Sandy Brown, along with franchise cornerstones Breanna Stewart and Sabrina Ionescu. And here's the detail everyone overlooked: her agent was present for this entire interaction. Now, mainstream outlets tried to frame this as casual post-game pleasantries, but I've been analyzing body language, positioning, and timing. This wasn't a good game chat. This was strategic positioning at its finest. But here's where things get interesting. The Liberty didn't just capitalize on an opportunity that night. They created it. Official sources won't tell you this, but if you follow the digital breadcrumbs, a different picture emerges. The Liberty have been watching Indiana's dysfunction unfold for months. Coach changes, medical controversies, tactical disasters, and they've been taking notes. Think about it. Sandy Brown is one of the most respected coaches in the league. She's built championship culture in New York, and she's watched Stephanie White try to turn Caitlin Clark into a role player. That's not just poor coaching, that's opportunity creation for every other franchise paying attention. But the Liberty didn't just watch, they positioned themselves as the solution Indiana couldn't provide. Remember when Stewart made those comments about supporting young players and building the right culture? What a coincidence that came right after Clark's injury struggles began mounting. Now let's get into rumor territory. Nothing is officially confirmed, but the online chatter is too loud to ignore. Multiple league insiders have suggested that Liberty management has been in indirect communication with Clark's representation for weeks. How do you approach a superstar under contract without tampering violations? You create situations where natural interaction occurs. You position your stars to build relationships. You demonstrate organizational competence while your competitor implodes. And that Barclays Center meeting, that wasn't accidental timing. That was the culmination of months of strategic positioning. Here's what I've been able to piece together from forum discussions and social media analysis. The Liberty identified 3 key pressure points in Indiana's operation: medical management. While Clark was dealing with her injury parade, Liberty personnel were quietly showcasing their world-class medical facilities and protocols to anyone paying attention. Coaching philosophy. As Stephanie White continued trying to diminish Clark's role, Sandy Brown was giving interviews about unleashing talent and building systems around your best players. Organizational respect. Every time Indiana created drama or dysfunction, the Liberty demonstrated the opposite: professionalism, championship culture, and star treatment. But the smartest move? Using Breanna Stewart and Sabrina Ionescu as the recruitment faces. Think about what Clark sees when she looks at those two. Stewart, established superstar, championship winner, respected veteran who commands organizational respect. Ionescu, elite point guard who wasn't diminished by coaching changes but elevated by them. They represent everything Clark wants her career to become, and the Liberty put them front and center in that Barclays Center conversation. The temperature of the online conversation suggests something deeper is happening here. Fans are connecting dots that paint a picture of calculated recruitment, masquerading as friendly competition. One Liberty insider reportedly told colleagues, "We don't need to recruit Caitlin Clark. We just need to be ready when Indiana pushes her away." And friends, that's exactly what's happening. Now, what would a Liberty recruitment pitch actually sound like? Obviously, we can't know the exact words exchanged, but based on organizational patterns and strategic positioning, here's what makes sense. The Liberty can offer Clark everything Indiana can't: championship infrastructure, medical excellence, coaching that amplifies rather than diminishes, a market that respects superstar talent, and most importantly, immediate title contention. While Indiana struggles to make the playoffs, the Liberty are title contenders. While Indiana's medical staff creates injury disasters, the Liberty's sports science department is league-leading. While Stephanie White tries to make Clark a role player, Sandy Brown would build the entire system around her brilliance. It's not even a fair competition when you lay it out like that. But here's where the story gets really fascinating. I've been filtering through the noise, and the signals point to something that should terrify Indiana Fever management. That Barclays Center meeting wasn't randomly scheduled. It came right after Clark's latest injury setback, right after Stephanie White's most questionable coaching decisions, and right when speculation about Clark's frustration was reaching peak intensity. The Liberty didn't create Clark's problems with Indiana, but they sure as hell positioned themselves perfectly to be the solution. And the agent presence? That transforms everything from friendly conversation to strategic positioning, because agents don't hang around post-game chats unless there's business potential worth exploring. The fan reaction tells us everything we need to know about how this is being perceived. Social media is flooded with Liberty fans expressing excitement about potential roster additions, while Fever fans are in full panic mode. One Liberty fan account posted, "We've been building championship culture for years. Now it's time to add the final piece." Another wrote, "Sandy Brown / Caitlin Clark, Dynasty Unlocked." Meanwhile, Fever fans are begging Clark to stay loyal while simultaneously criticizing their own organization's handling of her career. That's not a sustainable position for any franchise. Here's what no one in Indiana wants to acknowledge. The power dynamic has completely flipped. Clark doesn't need the Fever anymore. Her brand transcends any single franchise. Her talent guarantees success anywhere she lands. But the Liberty? They need a superstar to push them over the championship edge. And they've positioned themselves as the perfect landing spot for when Clark's patience finally runs out. That's not speculation anymore. That's strategic reality playing out in real time. Now, let's talk timeline. The Liberty's championship window is now. Stewart and Ionescu are in their primes. The infrastructure is championship caliber. The only missing piece is a generational talent who can push them over the edge. For Clark, this represents everything. Immediate title contention, proper medical care, coaching that amplifies her strengths, and a market that will maximize her commercial potential. It's not just a basketball decision, it's a legacy decision. But the story doesn't end there, because while we've been focusing on what the Liberty can offer Clark, we haven't talked about what Clark would bring to New York's championship equation. Imagine this lineup: Sabrina Ionescu running point alongside Clark's off-ball brilliance, Breanna Stewart dominating the post while Clark spaces the floor with her range, Sandy Brown orchestrating an offense that maximizes all three superstars instead of diminishing any of them. That's not just a playoff team, that's a dynasty waiting to happen. The Liberty would instantly become the most talented, most marketable, most championship-ready team in WNBA history. And Clark would finally have the supporting cast and coaching philosophy worthy of her generational ability. But let's get real about the business implications. Clark joining the Liberty wouldn't just be a basketball move, it would be an economic earthquake that reshapes the entire league. New York market plus Caitlin Clark's drawing power, television ratings explosion, sold-out arenas, and merchandising goldmine. The Liberty's local and national commercial appeal would skyrocket overnight. Meanwhile, Indiana would be left with empty seats, plummeting ratings, and the crushing realization that they had a once-in-a-generation opportunity and squandered it completely. Okay, now let's get into rumor territory. Nothing is officially confirmed, but the online chatter is too loud to ignore. Multiple league sources have suggested that Liberty ownership has already begun exploring the logistics of a potential Clark acquisition. Salary cap implications, roster construction, timeline considerations, all reportedly being analyzed by New York's front office as they position for what many consider an inevitable opportunity. And here's the detail that should terrify Indiana fans. These conversations are happening while Clark is still under Fever contract. That's how confident some people are that this situation is heading toward an eventual separation. But here's where the Liberty have been truly brilliant. They haven't said anything publicly about Clark. No tampering violations, no inappropriate comments, no obvious recruitment attempts. Instead, they've let their organizational excellence speak for itself while Indiana creates its own disasters. Why recruit when your competitor is doing all the work for you? Every Stephanie White coaching mistake makes Sandy Brown look better. Every Indiana medical disaster highlights Liberty's sports science excellence. Every Fever dysfunction showcases New York's championship culture. That's not luck, that's strategic patience at its finest. Based on everything I've uncovered, here's what I think happens next. Clark finishes this season with Indiana, probably makes a playoff push despite the organizational chaos, but during the offseason, that's when the real conversations begin. Her contract situation, combined with Indiana's continued dysfunction, creates the perfect storm for a franchise-altering move. and the Liberty will be positioned perfectly to capitalize. The only question is whether Indiana can fix their organizational problems fast enough to keep her. Based on everything we've seen, that seems increasingly unlikely. For Clark, this decision comes down to legacy. Does she want to waste her prime years fighting organizational incompetence in Indiana, or does she want to join a championship-ready franchise that will maximize her potential? She's already given Indiana everything: historic rookie numbers, sold-out arenas, national attention, playoff success. What has she gotten in return? Injuries, coaching chaos, and medical disasters. At some point, even the most loyal player has to prioritize their own career and legacy, and Clark is rapidly approaching that decision point. For Fever fans still holding hope, the warning signs are everywhere. Clark's recent interviews lack the enthusiasm of her rookie season. Her body language suggests frustration beyond just physical injuries. And most telling, her willingness to seek outside medical opinions shows she's already building independence from Indiana's organizational structure. These aren't the actions of a player planning a long-term future with her current franchise. These are the actions of someone preparing for other options. Meanwhile, the Liberty continue positioning themselves as the solution to every problem Indiana has created. Championship culture when Clark needs organizational excellence, medical competence when she needs injury prevention, coaching brilliance when she needs her talents maximized. They've created the perfect recruiting pitch without saying a word. So where does this all lead? Based on organizational patterns, strategic positioning, and simple basketball logic, Clark's future increasingly points toward New York. The Liberty have been patient, strategic, and brilliant in their approach. They've let Indiana create the problems while positioning themselves as the obvious solution. And when Clark finally makes her decision, it won't be because the Liberty recruited her. It'll be because Indiana pushed her away, and New York was smart enough to be ready. That Barclays Center meeting wasn't just a conversation. It was a preview of basketball's future. Clark surrounded by championship-level talent, coaching, and organizational support. And if you're a Liberty fan watching this unfold, you have to be thrilled with how perfectly your franchise has positioned itself for this opportunity. If you're a Fever fan, well, you better hope your organization figures out how to fix this disaster before it's too late, because the Liberty sure aren't going to wait around forever. But here's my final question for all of you. Is Caitlin Clark's potential move to New York inevitable at this point, or can Indiana still salvage this situation? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I want to hear what you think happens next in this saga. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you want more insider analysis like this, and ring the notification bell so you never miss when I break down the latest WNBA drama. Because trust me, this Clark situation is far from over, and I'll be tracking every development as it unfolds. Until next time, keep analyzing the narrative, and remember, in professional sports, the stories behind the stories are always the most revealing ones. This is Jax Riley, and I'll see you in the next breakdown.